From Washington, D.C., this is the Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum, I'm Hena Zuberi. Our top story tonight, a former Lebanese-American police officer from San Jose, California, has been awarded a $400,000 settlement over allegations of harassment based on his faith. Nabil Haider sued the San Jose Police Department, claiming he was persistently subjected to anti-Muslim comments, especially after the September 11, 2001 attacks. The lawsuit highlighted an incident from 2017 when a sergeant mockingly referred to Haider as an ISIS veteran during a police briefing. Following the September 11 events, Haider faced derogatory name-calling such as terrorist and suicide bomber, his attorney Randall Strauss said. Court records show 2 officers, including the sergeant involved in the mentioned incident, received a week's suspension for their remarks. The San Jose City Council approved the settlement but contested Haider's accusations. They alleged Haider responded to the remarks with crude comments about an officer's spouse and even made jokes about his Italian descent. The Bay Area chapter of the Council on American Islamic Relations expressed concern over the department's stance. It urged the police department to use the settlement as a foundation for substantial reform and restoring community trust. In an unprecedented move, the U.S. House voted to remove Republican House Speaker Kevin McCarthy. It is the first time in its 234-year history the House has voted out its leader. While 216 members voted to remove him, 210 supported him. Tensions within the Republican Party, especially with the right wing, led to the dramatic move. Congressman Matt Gaetz of Florida, a staunch critic of McCarthy from the party's right wing, initiated the motion to remove the speaker. Democratic Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, who also voted against McCarthy, said the outgoing speaker had targeted women's ability to make decisions about their bodies. She accused him of covering up a criminal conspiracy by Donald Trump and posing a threat to democracy. In February, House Republicans voted to remove Omar from the Foreign Affairs Committee because of past controversial comments about Israel and concerns about her objectivity. McCarthy's removal has left the House in a state of uncertainty, with bills including major spending measures awaiting action. Republican Representative Patrick McHenry has been appointed acting House Speaker and will hold the position for up to 3 legislative sessions. The Michigan Supreme Court has ruled parents of a student involved in a 2021 shooting will face criminal charges. Ethan Crumbley, son of James and Jennifer Crumbley, committed the shooting at Oxford High School near Detroit. 4 students were killed and another 6 students, along with the teacher, were injured. It's the first time parents in the United States are being charged in connection with a school shooting by their child. They face charges of involuntary manslaughter, a decision originally filed 2 years ago in relation to the shooting. Prosecutors claim the parents bear responsibility for purchasing the gun used by Ethan and for not alerting school authorities about the firearm. The Crumbleys have contested these charges, arguing the shooting was not foreseeable. But the state Supreme Court upheld the lower court's prior decision. The couple has spent almost 2 years in custody and might opt for a plea deal to gain a more lenient sentence, pending agreement by the prosecution and judge. Meanwhile, Ethan Crumbley, who was 15 at the time of the shooting, admitted to the crimes last year. Facing life imprisonment without parole, his sentencing is set for December the 8th. The Chicago chapter of the Council on American Islamic Relations has condemned an act of Quran burning in the suburb of Naperville. The burning took place over the summer but was only recently made public on social media. CAIR-Chicago has suggested a possible link to the ultra-right Hindutva RSS movement, known for its extremist views. There has been an increase in Quran burnings in the US and Europe. Notably, similar actions in Sweden stirred international diplomatic tensions. Head of the CAIR-Chicago chapter, Ahmed Rihab, emphasized that such acts are not isolated and suggest a growing trend of Hindutva-driven Islamophobia. Rihab cited a recent campaign against the construction of a Naperville mosque led by Hindutva supporters. He stressed the importance of educational institutions ensuring a safe space for students and called for collaboration with Hindu leaders to combat extremism. The student involved in the recent Quran burning had reportedly opposed the mosque's construction. CAIR-Chicago is seeking a public apology from the student. It's also calling for a meeting between the school, Muslim students, and community leaders to initiate a healing process. The Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, or EEOC, has sued Chipotle, alleging religious harassment towards a former Muslim employee, Arij Saifan, in Kansas. Saifan claimed an assistant manager continually pestered her over several weeks to reveal her hair by removing her hijab. The situation escalated on August 9, 2021, when the assistant manager allegedly confronted Saifan and forcefully removed part of her hijab. Saifan reported the incident to superiors, but felt compelled to resign the next day due to inadequate management response to the harassment. Chipotle's Chief Corporate Affairs Officer, Lori Schlaslow, said that the company had a strict anti-discrimination policy. Schlaslow said that the involved employees had since been dismissed. However, the EEOC contends the manager's termination on August 20, 2021 was due to an unrelated consensual relationship with a fellow employee. Chipotle has not clarified the reason for his dismissal. The EEOC lawsuit alleges after Safwan's resignation, Chipotle did not schedule her for her final 2 weeks and forced her out. The agency is seeking a jury trial and urging Chipotle to implement policy ensuring equal opportunities for all religious employees. Tensions have increased amongst Libya's political factions over the distribution of aid to victims of recent floods. The September 10th floods have claimed more than 4,000 lives and thousands more remain missing. The UN-recognized government in Tripoli administered most of the aid to flood victims. However, the administration in eastern Libya, recognized only by Egypt, sought to control aid distribution. This led to accusations that the government in the east was obstructing the delivery of aid. These divisions have their roots in the political chaos following the fall of Muammar Gaddafi in 2011, who ruled the country for over 50 years. Last year, the Eastern Libyan parliament appointed a new government led by former Interior Minister Fathi Bashagha. However, Abdelhamid Debdebe, head of the government in Tripoli, refused to recognize the appointment. Ibrahim al-Darsi, a member of the Eastern Libyan parliament, defended the decision to control aid. He said it's only natural for the eastern region to manage its own crisis. Some in western Libya considered this a move to gain political credibility. On September 14th, the parliament in the east approved an emergency budget of about $2 billion to repair flood damage. Israel blocks UK minister's visit to Palestinian village. Details after the break. Stay tuned and we'll be right back. Welcome back. Israeli officials prevented British and other European ministers from visiting the recently deserted Palestinian village of Ain Samia in the West Bank. British Secretary of State for Foreign Affairs James Cleverly intended to inspect areas the UK had invested in, including an elementary school destroyed after settler attacks. Following the attacks, more than 170 residents abandoned their homes. The Israeli Foreign Ministry cited security concerns for blocking the visit, suggesting certain locations could instigate violence. Ministers were granted access to places like Ramallah, but entry into areas like Ain Samia were seen as risky. Although Cleverly did not comment on this restriction upon his return to the UK, he did meet with representatives from Ain Samia in Ramallah. Israeli forces have frequently barred foreign officials from visiting Ain Samia. Earlier in the year, some international delegations, predominantly ambassadors, had been granted access, but the Israeli army later began stopping official visits. Chris Doyle from the Council for Arab-British Understanding critiqued Cleverly for not publicizing these restrictions. Sarit Michaeli of the Israeli human rights group Bet Shalom labeled the security reasons given by Israel as inadequate. Meanwhile, more than 500 Israeli settlers entered the Al-Aqsa Mosque complex in occupied East Jerusalem, accompanied by Israeli police, marking the Jewish holiday of Sukkot. The death toll from the mosquito-borne viral infection dengue in Bangladesh has surpassed 1,000. According to the Directorate General of Health Services, the death toll is the highest since 2000, when the country started keeping data on the disease. The World Health Organization warns the high number of reported cases already is putting pressure on the country's health system. On Sunday, more than 2,000 new dengue patients were hospitalized across the country. This September, there were more than 300 deaths with almost 80,000 registered hospitalizations. India has requested Canada to recall about 40 of its diplomatic staff amid escalating tensions between both nations. Those who remain beyond October 10 will reportedly lose their diplomatic immunity. Relations became further strained between the countries when Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau suggested Indian potential involvement in the assassination of Sikh leader Hardeep Singh Nijjar in Canada last month. Nijjar, a Canadian citizen, was a vocal advocate of the Khalistan movement, demanding a separate Sikh homeland. India has strongly refuted the allegations. The country has not officially commented on Canada's recent request. Canada has a larger diplomatic presence in Delhi compared to India's in Ottawa. As a result, India has urged Canada to achieve parity in their respective diplomatic missions. Trudeau emphasized his intent is not to exacerbate the situation, pledging to maintain a constructive dialogue with India. India ceased issuing visas to Canadian citizens September 21st, citing security threats at its Canadian missions. Canada has scaled back personnel in India following threats received by its diplomats on social platforms, but continues to offer visa services. The US, the UK, and Australia are urging India to collaborate with Canada's inquiries. Pakistan's acting Interior Minister has accused India's Research and Analysis Wing intelligence agency of being behind terrorist attacks in Pakistan. Sarfaraz Ahmed Bukhti condemned Friday's bombing of an Islamic religious gathering and said nearly 55 people were killed. He said the Indian intelligence agency was supporting the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, the terrorist umbrella organization of several militant groups, and Daesh in the region. Meanwhile, terrorist attacks in Pakistan have increased with more than 100 people killed in 65 militant attacks nationwide in September. The Pakistan Institute of Conflict and Security Studies monthly report shows close to 150 people were injured, including civilians and security personnel. A representative of the civil rights group CAIR claims that he was deported from Poland under pressure from the French government. Mohammed Rabbani, the British director of the organization, says the move came after he criticized France for Islamophobia. Rabbani, who's known for championing the rights of those affected by the war on terror, was scheduled to give a speech at a security conference in Warsaw. He claims France shared information about him with Poland, which led to his deportation. Rabbani was banned from entering France in early July because of his criticism of the government of President Emmanuel Macron. During his trip to Poland, Rabbani planned to attend a conference of the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe. At Warsaw Airport, Polish authorities produced documents indicating Rabbani was to be denied entry to EU countries on the basis of a Schengen information system. That is most widely used and the largest information sharing system for security and border management in Europe. Rabbani said legal action would be taken against the ban. South Korea is showcasing a collection of Islamic art featuring pieces from the esteemed Fayez Barakat Gallery. The exhibition presents more than 60 pieces tracing Islamic history from the era of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, up to the 20th century. The exhibit spans a range of art forms, including ceramics, calligraphy, and textiles. Among the standout pieces is the black silk cloth that covered the Kaaba in 1882, adorned with red and greens in addition to the traditional black and gold. Barakat Gallery, with branches worldwide, offers an expansive array of ancient art for sale. That's all from our Washington studios tonight. Thank you for tuning in. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell icon for the latest updates. For more content, keep watching Muslim Network TV or visit muslimnetwork.tv. Assalamu alaikum and good night.